figured out the problem that we were discovering yesterday in class. Some of our materials just were not working. I don't think they were Cinema 4D materials. I think they were Redshift materials. So let's take a look at what we've got here. I've already got my asset browser opened. The little cloud drawers opened. I've got my materials manager opened. And we can see a couple of the, let's see, NURB shapes that we made in class. I've got a lathe and a sweep here. One's white, one is orange. Let's take a look at, so let's recreate what happened. We opened up the asset browser and we clicked on the materials tab and we went down and I think we just clicked this and we saw these weird little top hat shapes. I don't remember seeing this icon before, but it's very apparent to me now that these are Redshift materials, which is not what we want. What we want is standard and physical materials, which are these right here. All of these under here are what will work with our standard renderers in Cinema 4D, which is what we have been using and which is what you should use for this assignment, unless you already have experience with Redshift. So what we want to do is flip down standard and physical, go to glass. I have already added, let's see, I think it's this glass, simple glass, to my materials manager. When you double click it, it downloads it and automatically adds it to your materials manager. So I did that already. Let's just show you what that's like. Let's grab this bluish glass. We'll click to download it. And then if I double click that, it shows up over here. Let's drag that on top of our little vase, our weird looking trumpet vase, trumpet slash wiffle ball bat. And then let's grab a metal. I already have aluminum over here, but I'm just going to show you what else is in there. There's a bunch of cool stuff in there. Ooh, should we go with bronze? Let's go with bronze. Drop that directly on. That's cool. As you can see, it downloaded automatically. As soon as I dragged it out and dropped it, it downloaded it and added it to the materials manager. So let's hit Command R here to render. Might take a while because glass and metal, as I mentioned, take a while to render. Oh wow, look how dirty that glass is, how grainy that glass is. Let's try this glass material on our bottle by just replacing it. Actually, let's also delete the, I should have shown you is here. Let's delete the glass and the metal. Go back to our original colors. You can just overwrite what's there. I'm going to go with this aluminum because I already have it downloaded. And I'm just going to drop that on top. And let's switch because I want to show you a trick with the graininess that Brindley and some others were getting yesterday. Let's drop the metal. You know what? Sorry, let's drop the glass on top of our sweep, and let's drop the bronze on top of our lathe. See how I'm just dropping it directly on top of the existing materials, which replaces it. I'm gonna hit Command R to render. Okay, this is what I wanted. Yeah, the bronze is looking good, but the glass is just so grainy, right? And you'll see how there's no problems with the exclamation point warning coming up because these are standard and physical renderer materials, which is what we need. I think I mentioned yesterday, there's different kinds of materials. There are Redshift materials, there are Octane materials, and there is the standard Cinema 4D renderer and the physical Cinema 4D renderer materials. Those are the ones that we are using, and that is why they work. Ooh, look at this cool like disco ball. So we try to put that on let's put that on our floor. Let's replace the white floor and see if this just completely ruins everything. Ooh, that makes this have a whole different feel, doesn't it? Okay, good times. Wow, look at all the grain. In fact, you know what? This will be a better illustration of how to reduce graininess because there's now graininess in the metal. Holy cow. All right, to reduce that graininess, it's going to increase our render times because that was actually pretty quick. Let's go to render settings, the clapboard, the slate with the gear. Let's go to anti-aliasing, which is by default set to geometry. Let's go to best, and let's just see what that gives us by default. And instead of rendering the whole scene, do you remember how we talked about how there is an interactive render region under this first slate, and it is down here at the bottom. I'm going to get this to encompass our bronze bottle. Holy cow, this is taking a while. I will fast forward through this to save you the trouble. Okay, finished rendering. That took a full minute to get that little portion of this window to render. You'll see that it does look better. There is still a little bit of grain there. Graininess is something you struggle with in 3D renders all the time. There are some of these settings over here that you can mess with. Oh, you know what? I have already set the min level to 2x2 and the max level to 8x8. We could set the threshold higher, like to 50%, and see what that does for us. I'm going to well, this might not take too long, but to save you the boredom, I will just fast forward. Okay, it looks a little bit better, but I think you would have to bump up some of these settings way higher, like 16 by 16, and maybe raise the threshold even more for it to look perfect. You don't need to worry about that at this point in the semester. But let's just see what happens. Since we're already here and since I can fast forward this for you guys, I'm going to bump up min to 4x4, bump up max to 16 by 16, bump up the threshold to 75%, and I'm going to let this render and fast forward. Okay, that took a minute and a half to render, and you can see there's still a little bit of grain there. It's certainly suitable for what you need to turn in for class. You know, rendering in 3D is a constant battle between render times and eliminating grain, and you're just going to have to find a level of grain, of noise you're comfortable with, or a level of render time you're comfortable with. But for the sakes of this tutorial, which was supposed to be much shorter than it has become, let us call this good. And you know what? Let's take off, let's replace, I'm gonna replace the floor color with white and then let this render. Okay, look how clean that looks. The light floor takes care of a lot of that noise. I'm not sure whether the grain comes from the texture of the metal floor or whether the fact that the renderer is trying to do a background. Metal and glass are complex textures. I think it has more to do with the darkness and the complex patterning than anything, but it looks pretty good on this white. So we'll call that good. So to recap, the materials you want to use are under the standard and physical folder. Don't mess with these. These are Redshift materials. Okay, hope that helps. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.